Good evening. You tuned into Outside the Box, our daily show that has given you the opportunity to interact directly with political party candidates. We are only now 5 days away from the general elections and the excitement is building up. And to add to that, why not a debate between two leading political opponents? One Fiji Party leader, Filimoni Vosarogo, and SODELPA candidate Semesa Karavaki. Good evening, gents. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Mika.
Okay, well, let's start and get this out of the way first. First, you gentlemen have no political history, right? You have no proven record of any political achievements of which people can judge you when they go to the polls. But you are known as lawyers, and you, Mr. Karavaki, as a former election supervisor. Now, what do you think why people should vote for you two in Parliament and deliver promises and ensure them that you will deliver your promises when you get into Parliament? Mr. Karavaki.
It is because the very important factor that the people need stability, the people need true justice. That is what we will provide. And without that...
And you as a candidate?
And myself as a candidate, I will ensure that there are a lot of reform done, to provide or to meet that end.
Mr. Karavaki? Sorry, Mr. Vosarogo.
Thank you. Mika, I think there's a real need. There's a real need or the urgency of change in our political environment. In the last 27 years, I keep referring back to the last 27 years, because that's the time frame in which we've begun to see the decline of politics here in this nation. And I feel that when I say I feel, the party, the One Fiji Party, feels that it is in a position now to introduce those changes and the dynamics that is needed inside Parliament that would create and show a future that is that can harmonize the races, grow our economy, and point us to a direction.
Thank you. Now, amazingly, gentlemen, the newspaper today has the advertisement of, paid in by political parties. Some call Fiji First manifesto as freebies. NFP focused on cost of living. SODELPA in its ad focused on land issues. But for you, your party, it has none. But one of your candidates, paid a full-page ad. Yeah. Does his views reflect the party's manifesto and what?
Absolutely. I think.
Or is he acting alone?
No, absolutely. That's the views of One Fiji Party, and you've said in a breakdown of how those other manifestos reflect in one sentence or one word. If I may suggest, ours really suggest to you solutions of how we can map our way through in the next 10 to 15 years.
Right. Mr. Karavaki, SODELPA focused on land in its newspaper ad. Land issue alone will win votes for SODELPA, do you think?
Of course, Mika. See, look, the most important thing is land. It is the root cause for everything in this country. We cannot work from the branches, because the branches, they are joined to the root, to the main trunk.
Which is the land.
Which is the land. And that's why land is the most important issue. All other issues, they are irrelevant if the trunk, is not there.
Thank you. Now, parties have their own propositions about how to make this economy grow and how to get it back on track, per se. But, what can you, gentlemen, tell voters at this very moment, when you get into Parliament, that cost of living will definitely be reduced significantly, wages and salaries will increase, and jobs created?
It's going to be a very hard promise to make. We need to go down to we need to get past the 17th of September, and then look at where we stand in terms of our government's finances. What capacity does it hold to fund the future for us? Because, as you know, in the last 8 years, we have not been given audited reports of government finances in the last 8 years. So we're really not marching into known territories, so to speak. There's going to be much deliberations that's going to be made inside Parliament. Right. So all of that will have to be seen inside the context of what is there and what needs to be done after the election.
Okay. Karavaki?
We acknowledge, being a citizen of this country, the difficulties that each citizens are going through because of the high cost of living. And we need to tackle that immediately after the election. With the SODELPA government, we have promised in our manifesto that we're going to be injecting $50 million in order to relieve those difficulties that we are experiencing right now.
You think they'll work? Think that's effective?
We have to do that is true justice.
Okay.
Because people are suffering,
Thank you, Mr. Karavaki. I think Yado from SUB is on the line. Bulvinaka Yado, and give us a question now.
Yeah, Bulvinaka.
Your question, Mr. Yado.
This question is directed towards Mr. Karavaki. What about your opinion on the rights of ownership of land? There has been a lot of talk on the stability of Tauke to own their land. Don't you think Section 28 is, of our Constitution is okay, or just a little bit back on Section 26?
Thank you, Mr. Yado. That's the question, Mr. Yado.
Thank you for the question. See, all the sections in the Constitution, they're all related.
Okay.
We have to look at all these constitutions to see the objective, of what they want to achieve. Although Section 28 says that native land cannot be permanently alienated, but we also see in Section 26, that it says that the rights of communal ownership of the Tauke over their land and fisheries, and even their structure to put into place their chiefly titles, they're all subjected to individual rights.
Okay.
Now, for example, for the right to participate in economic development of the country, that right overrides the right of ownership of the Tauke.
Okay. Gentlemen, final question in this segment. What are the consequences, do you think, of your government if you form one, giving people too much free, in the form of free things, and in the form of grants also? If you give them a lot of freebies, what do you think will be the consequences to your governments if you form one in the next parliament?
Well, it's certainly going to be, it's going to cost. It's going to cost. Nothing is free. We all know that. Even with the free programs that we have at the moment, you just don't simply pay there. You pay through some other means, but you certainly pay. And so part of the government's program in the future is to make sure that we drive into our citizens the need for them to be.
Okay. Mr. Karavaki, just finally we finish on this segment.
We need to instill in the people the sense of responsibility.
Okay.
Yes. If I may say that, if you give freely to them and you don't empower them to become independent, from that initiative,
right,
then it's useless.
Thank you. Stay with us. We'll continue the discussion right after the break. Welcome back. Remember, you can join the discussion live tonight by texting in your questions to 3599 or call our studio line 3302 Now, back to the discussion. Gentlemen, on this segment, we'll touch on land. Now, we'll talk about coup culture, right? We have the immunity provision of the Constitution, and we have the sections, the controversial sections of the Constitution. One does with freedom from compulsory acquisition of land, overriding Bill of Rights of customary rights and ownership of land, and the removal of entrenchment of the Constitution. Now, that plus other provisions of the Constitutions, do you think they create equal citizenry? Mr. Karavaki?
I don't think it creates equal citizenry, because there are people, if you have the immunity clause over there to excuse people from being prosecuted because of the crime they had committed, and you don't apply the same provision to other people who had committed, murder crimes. They have been taken to court, and some of them have gone to prison. But why those that have committed very serious crimes, to be excused? We are all equal. If we are all equal, why some are more equal than the others?
Mr. Vosarogo, do you agree with him on that issue?
I think in the long term, the provisions that you have just outlined, they're contained in the Bill of Rights. I think in the long term, might not be immediately seen now or immediately felt, but in the long term, that would be the design. I think the philosophy of that is in achieving ultimately the equal citizenry tag to it, yes.
Okay. Now, and do you think the particular provisions also still open that door for more coups in the future? Do you think if those provisions are left hanging, particularly on provisions that affect customary ownership rights of land?
No, I don't think that it does. I think the coup culture or people who perpetrate coups are not driven by anything else except greed and lust for power.
Mr. Karavaki?
In my view, if the issues of land ownership is not properly addressed, the constitution now, as it is an absolute, recipe for civil unrest. In future, I'm saying this because if the ownership of land is taken away without proper consultation, that is not good justice.
Okay. So you're saying it would be in the public interest to restore indigenous control over their customary land?
That's right. That's right, because that's the way it should be. If they own the land, you should consult them.
Do you agree with that?
Well, let me say this, Mika. I think it's been used. This excuse or justification has been used so much in the past. It's been used in '87 coup. It's been used in 2000. It's been used in 2006. Let's get behind the smoke screen. It's not. That's not the real reason. I said before, and I'll say it again. The perpetration of coup is made out of greed and lust for power.
Okay. Now, how significant, gentlemen, is the United Nations Declaration on the rights of indigenous peoples to the indigenous community? How important is that?
It's very important. That is only a reflection of proper justice, Mika. Right. Because when I say proper justice, I'm talking about the absolute justice. And absolute justice does come from God himself. Because if you own something, you should decide what you do with it. And you should not allow somebody else who does not co-share or co-owners that thing, to come and dictate its use.
You have to look at the United Nations documents, the United Nations Declaration in the background of the historical developments that the UN had seen. Obviously, they would have done meetings and then discovered that these had been an ongoing problem all across the globe. So when they came up with the United Nations Declaration on the protection of rights of indigenous people, they're doing that with the understanding that it's their role to ensure that they pass a declaration, that national governments would go out and then produce laws that would secure the rights and the common rights of the indigenous people. So it's very significant.
Now, thank you, gentlemen. We go to the common name issue, common name Fijian. Now, does it in any way has an effect on obligation, in a place that obligation on other ethnicities, like Itokais who are registered in the VKB, they are bound by traditional rules and obligations. Now, if you speak of equal citizenry, do you think the same obligation also has to be spread out to other ethnicities who are also called Fijian?
I certainly hope, Mika, that that's not the intention, because I don't think that it should amount to that in one day or someday in the future.
Does it open a door?
Oh, certainly has. I mean, it certainly has. It's open to interpretation now.
Right. Mr. Karavaki?
But if we look at what had been done or taken place, the removal of the GCC, and we can only speculate over there. What is the intent of all these things? It is to destroy the autonomy of the Fijian people. If that is so, it will impact, on that issue.
All right. Now, you mentioned GCC. Now, should it be restructured or left the way it is, if it is to come back? Mr. Vosarogo?
Oh, you certainly have known of our views. Our views is that the Great Council of Chiefs has to be restructured and redefined. Role has to be rerun through in the course of historical development and see how significant that body is in the 21st century, we should say that it certainly has a place, because it is the headship of Fijian people's existence.
Obviously, SODELPA would agree to that?
We are saying that the BLV and the chiefly system of the Fijian people, that is God's ordained system.
Okay.
It's God's ordained system. When you interfere with it, you're interfering with God's arrangements. And we believe that the GCC, although it should be there, but we know if it's God's ordained, we should look at what God says about the equality of people that should be there.
Okay. Now, gentlemen, so much has been said. Emotions are high in election 2014. Now, if your parties come into government and make, majority in parliament, will your parties take revenge on opposing political parties?
Certainly not ours. I think there's a fair level of maturity. There's a fair level of mutuality in this whole process. In election time, I think this is quite normal, that emotions are going to run high, and a lot of people are going to be sharing their views together with others. That's constitutionally okay, because you are allowed under the Constitution to politically affiliate yourself with other people of similar belief.
Mr. Karavaki, will SODELPA take a revenge?
No, we believe, that we will instill in our supporters that if there is somebody to take vengeance, it's only God. He has the right to do that. We are God-loving people, and we would like to indicate and to show everyone that through that love, that we must love other people that we are sharing this country.
Final question. Is there a possibility of your parties merging after the elections, if you win votes? Mr. Karavaki?
I think in the way we are now,
you will.
Everything is possible, because I see One Fiji as a supporting party.
One Fiji?
Well, there's a possibility.
Okay, well, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back. Remember, you can join the discussion live by texting in your questions to 3599 or call our studio line 3302-100. Now, back to the discussion. The gentlemen, in this segment, we'll discuss about secular state. Now, do you gentlemen think it's about time that the country accept the fact that it is now a secular state? Mr. Karavaki.
No, I don't think that we should accept that.
Why?
Because secular state, we can talk about it just basically if we say it's just a separation of the state, and religion, it's all right. But under this constitution, the basis of that is different.
What is it?
Because we are stating that all religions are the same, and there is no overriding values or principles to be the overall guide, for all religions. Because all religions, we have different doctrines, we have different beliefs.
Okay.
And that is a recipe for chaos. Because there is no override values. When I talk about overriding values, I'm talking about the Christian values, which should be the overriding values.
Mr. Sir, do you agree with that? It is a recipe for chaos?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that it is.
Okay.
But let me just share my views about on that topic. We have to accept that Fiji is founded on the principles of Judeo-Christianity. That was when the Fiji nation was born, was birthed. And so since over the years, and I think if you look at the 1997 Constitution, it's reflected in the 1997 Constitution, everybody has a right to worship. Everybody has a right to affiliation. There is no one right to practice religion that's been suppressed by the fact that government considers principles and values of Christianity as the guiding principles of leadership in the country. It's been forthcoming. It's been the working philosophy of government since the 1997 Constitution. There was nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Now, do you gentlemen agree that we all are equal before the eyes of God, right? So, and people should be allowed the freedom to practice their faith and not be dictated upon?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're right. You're right. What I'm saying, Mika, is that the guiding principles should be there. See, this is the supreme law of the land. It should be there because all other laws made, they must be subjected to that. They should reflect the principle that is enshrined in the Constitution.
Do they at the moment?
No, it's not there. It's not in the Constitution. And if you want to put those provisions in other laws, say the criminal code,
right,
or the criminal decree, if you put those laws over there because it says that you should not murder anybody, and there is no overriding principles from there to say, because where did that come from? Because we can invent our values. The values come from a moral standard, and we believe in the Christian moral standard. And that's why I'm saying that it should be there as an overriding standard or overriding principles.
Okay. Does secularism, do you think, has an effect on the child's Christian belief and upbringing in a Christian school? Mr. Vosarogo? Does secularism has an effect on a child's Christian belief and his upbringing or her upbringing in a Christian school?
In a Christian school, no, it certainly doesn't. I think, if anything, it'll perpetuate and build up that child's spiritual development.
Right. The secular state, over here in this Constitution, every individual, even students in the school, they're given their rights to choose whether they want to be part of the program of their Christian school or not. That's the problem with this Constitution, because it's really up to them to do whatever they want.
Yeah. Okay. Now, should all schools be monitored to ensure no religion is having a preference from another, ensure that they are seen to be living the true sense of a Christian state?
Mika, I'm looking at this Constitution. This is the beginning of national apostasy.
Okay.
This is the beginning of national apostasy.
Okay. Mr. Vosarogo?
Sorry?
Should schools be monitored that no religion has preference over the other?
No, I don't think that we should do that. I think we should keep policing out of schools and out of the environment where school children are being raised up.
Okay, we have a caller on the line. Caller, go ahead and ask your question.
Yambula Mika.
Your question, sir?
Can we ask Mr. Karavaki a question, sir? About they bring back the Constitution, the 97 Constitution, so they allowed easily our land, the indigenous people, to easily slip away from us.
Okay. So, I think that what he's saying is, will you implement a law to ensure that land is not taken away from the indigenous community? If your party makes government,
we will implement a law that land can be used, native land can be used, but the ownership must not be changed.
Okay. Final question:
yeah.
What will your party do to the provisions of secular state in the Constitution if it comes to power? Will you remove it or not?
It has to be put through a parliamentary process.
We will have to incorporate in there what I'm saying is God's overriding principles.
Thank you, gentlemen, and that's all the time that we have tonight. We engage in our final debate tomorrow, and it's going to be between two youth candidates. So you wouldn't want to miss that. But before we go, some breaking news coming out of Syria. TV new channel Al Jazeera is now reporting that our 45 UN peacekeepers have finally been freed early this evening. Reports so far indicate that they were expected to cross over from Syria on the Israel side of the Golan Heights. We must, however, note that this has yet to be verified by the UN. So we end the evening on a positive note. We can only wish them a safe journey back home. Until then, good evening. Thank you, gentlemen.